that as bad luck, as something you need to look into on structurally, like how did this happen? How do you view that as a leader in this franchise?
Yeah, I think it's bad luck.
One player becomes the face of an entire sport. Ordinary expectations disappear, and every game suddenly feels like a must-win battle. The Indiana Fever believed they were entering a patient era of steady growth and long-term development. Then Caitlin Clark arrived, and everything accelerated. Every possession, defeat, and coaching decision was placed under a worldwide microscope, leaving little room for familiar excuses. So when rumors spread throughout the sports world that the Fever front office had made an unprecedented move involving head coach Stephanie White after a brutal loss to the Las Vegas Aces, basketball fans were sent into chaos. Supporters demanded answers, media outlets rushed to report the developing story, and Caitlin Clark reportedly found herself stunned by how quickly tensions had escalated behind the scenes. To understand how Indiana went from an ambitious contender to an internal crisis almost overnight, you have to examine the enormous pressure surrounding the franchise. Before their generational star arrived, the team could operate quietly outside the biggest media spotlight, with enough room to make mistakes and develop naturally. Suddenly, Gainbridge Fieldhouse became a major center of women's professional sports. Arenas were filling up, attendance records were being broken, television ratings climbed into the millions, and every broadcast was dissected second by second. Management was no longer simply running a basketball team. They were handling a high-stakes, multi-million-dollar operation where national failures could trigger enormous public backlash. The margin for error had disappeared, and executives understood that elite talent can instantly create a window for success, whether a coaching staff is completely ready or not. But the real breaking point came during a brutal matchup with the reigning powerhouse Las Vegas Aces. Facing a battle-tested championship team led by Aya Wilson and coached by Becky Hammon was always expected to be Indiana's biggest challenge. Instead, what should have been a valuable measuring stick game became an uncomfortable collapse. From the opening quarter, Las Vegas picked apart Indiana's defensive coverage with precision, exposing confusion on switches and late rotations. Offensively, the Aces repeatedly sent aggressive double teams toward Caitlin Clark, challenging the rest of Indiana's roster to make difficult decisions under pressure. The Fever bench struggled to respond. Adjustments came too slowly, and frustration visibly began spreading across the court. Cameras captured several moments when Clark turned toward the bench appearing confused by the play calls, while her animated reactions suggested something was seriously wrong with the strategy. Losing to a championship-caliber opponent was one thing, but being thoroughly outcoached on a national stage immediately raised major concerns within the organization. When the final buzzer sounded and the Aces left with a comfortable victory, the mood inside the Fever executive suite became absolutely freezing. Inside the Fever organization, senior executives, including the general manager, watched silently as the players headed toward the tunnel with exhausted body language. In elite sports, perception matters enormously, and that loss made the coaching staff appear incapable of taking the team beyond its current limitations. Emergency discussions continued behind. What followed would send shockwaves across the league. The tension between the front office and Stephanie White had not suddenly developed after the Las Vegas defeat. It had been quietly building for weeks. White arrived with extensive coaching experience and previous connections to the organization, making her appear to be a stable, experienced choice for a young team. Yet behind the scenes, a major stylistic disagreement was developing. White favored structured half-court. When a coaching philosophy clashes with a generational superstar's strengths, management faces a difficult reality. In today's sports environment, the system often needs to adapt to the star rather than forcing the star to adapt. Behind the scenes, team insiders reportedly believe the general manager felt Stephanie White's system was too rigid to fully utilize Caitlin Clark's creative passing and deep shooting. The loss to the Las Vegas Aces exposed those weaknesses to millions, convincing management that waiting longer could cost the young core a crucial season of development. But once word of a possible major change reached the locker room, the reaction became complicated. Clark was reportedly shocked by how quickly everything moved. Her visible frustration had been obvious during difficult stretches, but she apparently never expected such immediate action. Suddenly, fans and media began questioning whether she had influenced the decision, adding another layer of pressure to a young superstar already carrying enormous attention. Every interview, post-game comment, and social media activity was examined for signs of tension. Veteran players reportedly disliked the sudden shift, believing one nationally televised loss should not erase long-term plans, while younger players saw a fresh system as a chance to unlock Indiana's offensive pace. That divide left trust needing repair while the season continued under intense scrutiny. Around the WNBA, rival teams were watching carefully, knowing organizational instability can create opportunities involving roster uncertainty or unhappy players. Meanwhile, Indiana's situation reflects a broader transformation in women's sports. Growing television revenue, sponsorships, fan engagement, and national exposure have dramatically shortened the patience given to teams. Years ago, franchises could develop over several seasons, learning through playoff losses and gradually building championship chemistry. Now, viral moments, immediate metrics, and enormous broadcasts create pressure for quick results. Coaches who fail to deliver quickly can face intense financial and public scrutiny. Indiana represents this new reality perfectly. Extraordinary talent brings extraordinary expectations, and mistakes can become headline stories almost instantly. As the front office's aggressive stance dominated sports coverage, attention turned toward who could possibly lead such a high-profile team through the turmoil. Coaching Indiana is now far more demanding than a standard head coaching job. The ideal replacement would need tactical expertise, media confidence, flexibility to build around Clark's instincts, and the emotional intelligence to manage a locker room affected by organizational upheaval. Finding all those qualities during a heated season would be extremely difficult. The Aces' defeat also exposed the difference between an established championship machine and a talented team still developing its identity. Las Vegas has spent years aligning its coaching philosophy with its stars, creating a culture where players understand their roles under pressure. Indiana tried to build that cohesion much faster, relying heavily on star power while structural weaknesses remained. Against elite competition, talent alone cannot carry a team. Without a trusted, unified system, management recognized that continuing unchanged could lead to more painful playoff disappointments. The Fever now face a defining. She is discovering that being the face of a sport also means confronting corporate realities where personal relationships can sometimes be sacrificed for immediate results. Her next challenge will involve more than hitting deep shots or creating highlight reel passes. She must become a vocal leader capable of bringing a distracted locker room back together through determination and presence. Great players show their quality during comfortable victories, but legendary reputations are built when they survive internal chaos and keep moving forward. Clark's response to this front office turmoil could shape the remainder of her season and potentially influence her entire career in Indiana. With the situation slowly settling, the Fever now face a dangerous crossroads that could determine the franchise's direction for years. A bold front office decision demonstrates that management is committed to building a championship team around its generational superstar. However, making a rapid structural change during the season carries enormous risks and could backfire if the replacement system fails to click immediately. Millions of fans will be watching every game with intense attention. The real consequences of Indiana's bold decision will become clearer as fans and analysts watch for signs of progress or another internal breakdown. Beneath the rumors, debates, and nonstop media coverage lies a simple lesson. Rapid greatness comes with an unforgiving price. The Indiana Fever wanted sold-out arenas, national attention, and the fame that came with drafting a generational phenomenon. But that spotlight also created enormous expectations, where second place can feel like failure and patience quickly disappears. Management showed it was willing to restructure its own organization rather than accept mediocrity on national television. Whether this move eventually produces a championship or becomes a warning about moving too quickly remains unknown. What is certain is that loyalty is becoming shorter, expectations are higher, and nobody is protected when results fail to match the hype. Looking back at the matchup against the Las Vegas Aces explains why executives felt they could no longer wait. The problem wasn't simply losing, it was how Indiana lost. Las Vegas repeatedly used basic high pick-and-roll actions, exposing defensive weaknesses that the Fever failed to correct throughout the game. When the same action repeatedly breaks down a defense without alternative coverages or personnel changes, ownership can begin questioning whether the coaching staff has answers left. The general manager, but when the offense slowed into rigid half-court sets, efficiency dropped sharply. The data suggested that excessive structure was limiting the roster's natural strengths, frustrating executives who valued measurable results and making a coaching separation increasingly difficult to avoid. This front office shakeup also delivers a serious warning across professional basketball. Long-term development plans and excuses about a young roster carry. Frequent coaching changes can disrupt defensive habits, consistency, and the trust required for championship-level basketball. Strong systems depend on countless repetitions and confidence between coaches and players. Indiana must now find a coach who can restore that security without sacrificing the fast-paced identity fans expect. Meanwhile, the enormous social media spotlight surrounding Clark and the Fever means every leadership decision is analyzed, debated, and sometimes distorted before facts are confirmed. That nonstop attention creates another burden for players trying to focus on basketball. Clark's ability to separate the off-court drama from her performance could ultimately determine whether Indiana survives this storm and becomes a genuine contender. When the Fever return to action, every sideline exchange, play call, and player reaction will be closely watched. A dominant performance could quiet critics and support management's aggressive decision, while another poor showing would raise questions about whether deeper problems remain. Ultimately, this saga demonstrates the immense pressure created by fans